Have you ever felt like a part of you is just stuck, frozen in time, unable to move on? Well, today I want to share a story with you, a fairy tale for the modern age, about a princess who knew that feeling all too well. It's the story of Princess Aurelia and her frozen shadow. In a kingdom bathed in perpetual sunlight, where flowers bloomed year-round and laughter echoed in every cobblestone street, lived Princess Aurelia. She was everything a princess was expected to be: graceful, kind, and beautiful. But Aurelia carried a secret, one that followed her everywhere she went. Her shadow was frozen. While the shadows of everyone else in the kingdom danced and stretched with the sun, Aurelia's was rigid, a dark, jagged silhouette permanently fixed to the ground behind her. It didn't matter if she twirled in the grand ballroom or ran through the sun-drenched meadows. Her shadow remained motionless, a constant, cold reminder of a day she wished she could forget. You see, years ago, on the coldest winter day the kingdom had ever known, a great sorrow had befallen the royal family. It was a day of chilling winds and a devastating loss. In a moment of overwhelming grief and fear, a young Aurelia had wished for the pain to just stop, to freeze so she wouldn't have to feel it anymore. And in that desperate moment, as a tear fell and turned to ice on the frozen ground, her wish was granted in a strange and literal way. Her shadow, the very reflection of her inner self, became trapped in that single painful moment. As she grew, the frozen shadow became a source of shame. She wore long, flowing gowns to hide it, avoided crowded places, and always positioned herself so the sun was directly overhead, shrinking her shadow into a small, dark puddle at her feet. The people of the kingdom whispered. Some said she was cursed, others that she was simply strange. The loneliness was a heavy cloak she wore every day. The king and queen, worried for their daughter, brought in the finest physicians, the wisest sages, and even flamboyant magicians from distant lands. They tried everything. One wizard attempted to melt the shadow with a magical flame, but the shadow just hissed and remained unchanged. A wise woman suggested a potion of pure sunlight, but it only made the shadow's edges appear even sharper and darker against the bright ground. Nothing worked. The shadow, like the memory it was bound to, refused to thaw. One day, an old humble storyteller arrived at the castle. He didn't carry wands or spellbooks, just a kind smile and eyes that seemed to see more than just the surface. He saw the sadness in Aurelia's eyes, the careful way she moved, the constant, subtle effort to hide the dark shape that dogged her steps. He asked to speak with the princess alone. They sat in the royal garden, Aurelia positioned carefully under a large umbrella. The storyteller didn't offer a magical solution. He didn't even look at her shadow at first. Instead, he looked at her and asked a simple question. "Princess, tell me about the day your shadow froze." Aurelia was taken aback. No one had ever asked her to talk about that day. Everyone was always so focused on fixing the shadow, on erasing it, that they never asked about the wound that created it. Hesitantly at first, and then with a torrent of pent-up emotion, she began to speak. She described the biting cold of the wind, the unnatural silence that fell over the castle, the feelings of confusion and fear that had overwhelmed her small heart. She spoke of the loss, the deep, aching sorrow she had tried so hard to push away. As she spoke, the tears she had held back for years began to fall. They weren't icy tears of a desperate wish this time. They were warm, salty tears of release. The old storyteller just listened, nodding gently. He didn't try to comfort her with empty platitudes. He just provided a safe space for her grief to finally be heard, to finally be seen. He said, "Your shadow is not a curse, Your Highness. It is a memory. It is a part of you that is hurting, and it has been waiting patiently for you to be ready to listen." As Aurelia cried, something remarkable began to happen. A faint tremor ran through her frozen shadow. Its sharp, jagged edges began to soften. It was almost imperceptible at first, like the first crack in a frozen lake at the beginning of spring. The storyteller encouraged her to continue. "Don't turn away from it," he said softly. "Look at it, acknowledge it. It is your own sorrow, your own strength, frozen in time." For the first time in her life, Aurelia deliberately stepped out from under the umbrella and looked directly at her shadow. Instead of seeing a monstrous, shameful secret, she saw the silhouette of a small, frightened child. She saw her own past, trapped and waiting. Filled with a new sense of compassion, not for a flawed object, but for herself, she knelt down and reached out her hand, letting her fingers hover just above the dark shape on the ground. She didn't try to melt it or banish it. She just accepted it, She whispered to the shadow, to the memory, to the younger version of herself. "I see you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I remember, it's okay. You don't have to be frozen anymore. I'm here now. We can face this together." At that moment, a warm golden light seemed to emanate from Aurelia's heart. It spread down her arm and into her fingertips, casting a gentle glow. As she spoke those words of acceptance and self-compassion, the frozen shadow didn't just melt, it transformed. The rigid, dark shape shivered and began to move. It pulled away from the ground, swirling like smoke, and then gently reconnected with her feet. As Aurelia stood up, her shadow stood with her. When she took a tentative step, her shadow stretched and followed, fluid and graceful. When she raised her hand to wave, her shadow waved back. It was no longer frozen, it was alive. It was hers again. Aurelia laughed, a pure, joyous sound that had been absent for far too long. She twirled, and her shadow twirled with her, a perfect dancing partner in the sunlight. It was still a part of her, a reminder of her past, but it was no longer a heavy, frozen anchor. It was a testament to her journey, a symbol of her resilience. From that day on, Princess Aurelia was different. The kingdom noticed it immediately. She walked with a newfound confidence, her shadow dancing freely behind her. She no longer hid in the shadows, but embraced the light, knowing that her shadow was simply a natural part of who she was. She became an even kinder and more empathetic ruler, because she understood that everyone carries their own shadows, their own hidden sorrows. Her story became a legend in the kingdom, a tale told not to scare children, but to empower them. It was a reminder that our past, our pain, doesn't have to be a frozen prison. It is a part of our story, and true healing, true freedom, doesn't come from erasing the past, but from facing it with courage, compassion, and acceptance. It begins the moment we are brave enough to turn around, look our own frozen shadows in the eye and say, "I see you." Let's move forward together. So if you feel like a part of you is frozen, stuck in a memory of a colder time, remember the story of Princess Aurelia. Maybe it's time to stop trying to melt the shadow with magic potions and grand gestures. Maybe it's time to just sit with it, listen to its story, and offer it a little compassion. Because healing doesn't start with forgetting. It starts with remembering and a single brave act of acceptance. Thank you so much for listening. If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that help us navigate the fairy tales of our own lives. Until next time.